Welcome back to this course on the Custom Cabinet Planner. In this course, we will continue looking at the various sections of the Procedures page, starting with the Machine Procedures section. Keep in mind that this entire solution is intended as a template, a starting point for you and your company to document your processes. You should be editing these to make them align with what you do and how you do it. Let's begin. So starting in this machine section, we have our tip again about putting plywood on concrete. Again, you can put anything you want here, type any words you want here. It's literally just click in the field, back out this, replace it with something else, change the color, do whatever you want to do. But I think it's of great value to be able to remind our people of something as simple as this. In the experience with my cabinet company, I ran across this multiple times over a period of years of new people coming in, having worked for other cabinet makers that didn't subscribe to this thought process of that moisture is in the concrete, and if you put wood on that concrete, that it can absorb into the wood and damage the product, especially if it's raw and then you finish over it while the moisture content is high. So we just want to have this reminder over and over again. Anything that you think is valuable like that, you can add to these. So let's jump into this overview section real quick. That's all of it. When I opened it, you're seeing every bit of it, and it's basically for a new employee coming in, rather than somebody standing there talking through all of this and catching some of it and missing some of it. As even experienced cabinet makers might reference this from time to time. So it's just a standard overview of your cabinet construction, base, wall, tall, how you do applied ends, how you do toe kick, and your cabinet fillers. Short and sweet, but an overview. And then the sequence of events. What happens in what order? Now, this particular grid here is presuming that you're a manual shop, using a saw and a bander and a borer and grooving with manual machines and all of that. Again, this is to be edited. So this is if someone has a sliding table saw or a vertical panel saw, an edge bander, and then multiple pieces of machinery that those parts go to be line bored, to be grooved for backs, to be bored for other functional hardware, suspension systems, leg levelers, things like that. If you're all CNC, then this becomes irrelevant. You wouldn't use this piece, or you would edit this piece to be specific to your company. So let's close that back up, and then we're only going to look at a couple of these because they are somewhat redundant in that each one of these is just covering a different process, but in the same methodology of that setup, process, and maintenance. Alright, so in the setup portion of the CNC router procedures, we have multiple categories or subcategories here. CNC router safety. You should probably have some sort of documented, this is what we expect of you in terms of safety at a particular machine. And then before and after each use, you'll see that over and over again if we were to go through each and every one of them. But this is kind of that getting ready to do what you're going to do. Some of these machines, in the case of a CNC router, have tooling, and we need to know what the tool is. We need to know what the friendly name for the tool is. We need to know size, use, spindle, feed, entry, model number if we need to reorder a tool, all of that. Where are we going to get those tools? Again, all this stuff should be documented so anyone that works for you can get to it, find it, and be able to utilize it when needed. And then some of these things are just when necessary. So we have those broken out and basically saying if this needs to be done, do this. And then the how-to piece of this is all about this homing the machine, the manual setting up, M37, restart after tool is broken, all those potential things that might happen that they need to know what to do in those cases. So we would want to identify all those things and then define what should happen when that occurs. Then we'll jump into our process, and you'll notice if we jump into any one of these subsections of the process that everything from here throughout this machining for the most part is numbered, not checkboxes. And that's because these are not a single process. We're going to do this over and over and over again. It's a recurring thing. So we're going to do it in this order and do it again and again until all of the processes or all of the parts or all of whatever is complete. So you will see more numbered lists here than checkbox lists. So these steps just walk us through the different machining of the different part types, and they may not be relevant to every company, but if they aren't, edit them out, and if they are, edit them to make them yours. And then when we get to the maintenance section here, we're going to start seeing a lot of this. Some will have more, some will have less, like this one has after every use, monthly. At these machines, we have some maintenance that's required, whether it's greasing something or replacing replacing a blade or something like that. And we'll see as we pop through a couple more of these that we have some of this type of maintenance type things that are required on a recurring basis in hours, days, weeks, months, and sometimes annually. This is also the first occurrence that we see of this take machine photos. So if you've watched these courses all the way back to the beginning, back in the sales portion of this, we talked about that a good sales tactic is to take photos through the process and send those to your clients around the lunch hour is ideal. And so this is reminding you, if you're going to do that, if you think that's of value as a marketing and sales tool to be able to send photos of someone's job going through the process around the lunch hour so that they might take their phone, look at it and goes, oh, look, they're starting to machine my cabinets, and turn and show it to the other 5 neurosurgeons they're having lunch with, or attorneys or whatever. So if you think that's of value, you'll start seeing these reminders throughout this machining portion of the processes. Now we're going to jump into the sliding table saw procedures. We'll jump into the setup. And we've got a caution here, a red note caution. We've got a before each use. This is new to this particular machine process. This terms you need to know, but this is something that if you're using a sliding panel saw, that it's not necessarily presumed that people know that this fence pushed all the way back is the fore position and pulled all the way back is the aft position. But we're going to reference that throughout this, so they need to know what that means. And if you have other terms that someone comes to you and says, what does this mean? You need to document. Whatever will clarify that for the next person that asked the question. And then this is another numbered list, a lot more of these notes, and I'd say try to keep these at a bare minimum. These are very old, been around a long time, so every time a question was asked, we tried to answer it with a note. Maybe there's a better way of going about that. But what I do want to point out here is this stop go jig notation. Check first part with stop go jig. If you're not using stop go jigs, start tomorrow. Stop go jigs prevent you from machining 1,000 parts wrong. Recently, one of our clients who was buying from Conestoga got a whole order of doors in, and all the hinge holes were bored incorrectly. Not way off, but off enough that it was a real problem. He called another Good Profit Group member to say, have you ever run into this? And he said, no, but I just got an order in, let me go look, and his were off too. So when Conestoga made a mistake, there were hundreds if not thousands of doors affected by this bad setup because they didn't have a stop go jig, or because someone didn't do what they should have done and used the stop go jig. So stop go jig is typically really simple, sometimes just a piece of 1/4 inch plywood with some fences on the edges, something that to blip it onto a door that has this 35mm hole in it, and maybe if you're using the 8mm holes as well, that those are in it, and so you just push it onto the corner of the door and it's either right or it's wrong. Either stop or go. If it's wrong, we stop, figure out what's wrong, fix it, and don't bore 1,000 doors wrong, we bore 1 door wrong. So stop go jigs are of great value. Anytime you're doing machining, you should have stop go jigs. We also, through this section, will have quite a few of these grids that just identify something. In this case, this is identifying the saw fence setting specifically for cutting 45-degree angle cabinet parts. And so it's telling them what to set the rib fence to, what the opening size will be, and what the door size will be for each of these cabinet types, an upper, a vanity, and a base cabinet. Then if we jump down into the edge band section, we'll see a couple other things like that. Again, we have the before and after each use. Then we have these approximate beam settings. This is of value to someone. Maybe this is not a science, this is more of an art, so we're going to at least give them a starting point where it should be about, and then they've got to tweak from there. So those kind of things are really valuable. And now we're going to jump past this machinery area down into the assembly procedures. And I'm going to focus on the full access side, but the face frame parts are here. You'll notice that this is different than everything else we've done, but we do have, as we've had in several other sections, some video tutorials that talk about how to do these things. And so this is a blind corner cabinet. This video is specific to that. If someone wasn't sure how to build this cabinet, they could just watch this video. And typically, this is new employees watching this. Every now and then, if someone hasn't built one in a long time, they might want to review that. It's not a long video. You don't need to make really long videos. But this one's going to be a little unique in that now we're really getting down to the step-by-step. We've got to do this, 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 and this in this order. So here we've got a before each project, review the room selections. These are portals. Again, making sure that we're building this project out of the right material, and then to review the drawings. So we have, when we're building the cabinet, we can actually look at the cabinet we're building, know what it is we are building. And then when we get into the processes, we have, let's say in this case, base cabinets. We have a peek into the room selections so that we make sure, again, triple, quadruple check that we're building it out of the right material and using the right drawers, all those things. Review those drawings again, and then when we get to the base assembly, we're not going to go to every one of these, but we're going to stay here and just kind of talk about this for a few minutes. We're using a Kanban board. Now that's really a strange tool to utilize. The Kanban Lego block from Notion is not what I had envisioned using here, and I've done this 3 or 4 different ways, but I'm finding this Kanban board block to be of great value for this step-by-step, do it like this. So you see this is step 1, this is step 2. If you use the gallery, you lose some of these instructions. They just run off into space. You can't read the whole thing. Here this grows to expand to whatever this says, but I'm not really intending for you to read these instructions and look at these small pictures. I'm intending for you to open the Kanban board, and we have this set to open in this side peek so that we have access to this full picture. And now here's the step 1 instructions, and here's a picture to support those instructions. And when we're ready to go to step 2, instead of navigating the Kanban board, we just click on this down caret for next page, and we are at step 2. And we do that, and then we go to step 3. Now this is a little more challenging with a tablet and almost impossible with a phone, but with a phone it's really easy to just navigate the Kanban boards themselves. But on a PC this really works well, using these carets to navigate from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4. But this process of using a Kanban for this type of step-by-step process is really valuable. You can see that this is a really long list. We'll go ahead and scroll down, and you'll see that a few of these steps are A and B kind of thing, but there's quite a few steps to assembling a base cabinet from beginning to end. So 19 steps, and we would just navigate using this. Now from here we can just keep navigating down to step 2, step 3, step 4, or we could jump over here. If we wanted to jump to step 18, we could do that, jump to 16 or 15 or whatever we wanted to. So that covers everything I wanted to touch on in this 6th course on the procedures page. Up next we will continue working down our sequence of events list, looking at more sections of the procedures page. Thanks for watching.